Don't call her cute, don't call her feisty. She's a rebel, she is nasty, she is brave. She isn't honey, sweetie, sugar pie, or baby. And don't you ever say that she was well behaved. Don't you ever say that she was well behaved. And don't you ever say that she was well behaved.
Normally I would leave at night and just drive straight through the night, get there in the morning, sleep for a few hours, and then go to dinner. Because there's less traffic.
So it takes less time.
And it's less stressful. It's a little more peaceful.
You get tired?
No, well, I come home from work, I take a nap, and then I just drink coffee, and it's fine. And that's how
14 hours? Jesus.
I mean, including all the stops and stuff.
Wow, 14 hours. I've never driven that long alone. Not even close to that. I think my longest is 8.
Last year, when I did it for Passover, I ended up stopping for a little bit in West Virginia because it started snowing. And West Virginia is really scary to drive through because the roads don't have reflecting lights and you're in the mountains.
Yeah.
So I got really scared and it was 4 o'clock in the morning.
You just slept in your car.
I just pulled into a gas station and I slept for an hour and a half until the sun rose. And I was all right, now that I can see, I'm okay with doing this. But it was really scary.
No, when you can't see, that's good. I'm glad you had that kind of discretion. So now it'll be 4 hours to DC, and then what's DC to?
9 hours.
Well, that's not too bad.
No, and I'll have my brother and my dog.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. It'll be good.
Why are you doing it this way this year?
My brother hadn't yet bought his plane ticket. And I was like, what if we just go together? It'll be a nice little...
Yeah.
Just be a nice little trip.
That sounds way better to me.
It doesn't...
And also
matter.
flying on Thanksgiving is so expensive. And so...
Yeah. So this way he only has to buy one ticket.
Oh, he's not going to come back up?
No.
How do you usually come back up?
I just drive.
That's so crazy.
I'll leave Sunday morning and I'll get back here on midnight. And I'll go to sleep and I'll go to work in the morning.
Jesus Christ. Driving is so exhausting to me.
I love it. I mean, it is exhausting, but I love talking to myself the whole way down.
Yeah.
And farting freely.
Burping
Even
more
away.
freely.
Yeah. Eating kind of junk and just looking in the back seat and seeing Bamford.
She's cool with driving?
She's great with driving. She
Some
doesn't
dogs
love
don't
it.
like it, right?
But she just curls up in the back and she just curls up and then we'll stop along the way. And usually there are a lot of rest stops once you leave the tri-state area that have trails.
One of these pillows.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Oh, is that your umbrella?
No, this is a bag that my mom got me.
Very cool.
It folds up into a little pouch that I keep in my other bag. But I had to bring all this stuff. What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
I'm just going to my parents' house in Brooklyn. And the family that I babysit for, they're gone from Wednesday to Wednesday. So I have the whole week off.
That's nice.
There's that packet that's due next week. So I might try and do that.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll still just get up early and just go ride all day.
Yeah, that's my little Thanksgiving project.
That's my plan.
It's a nice when my family gets to be too much.
Yeah,
you're
I have work to do.
I gotta go. I gotta go to my room.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm just gonna be there. I'm helping my mom on Wednesday get stuff ready.
Yeah,
and we're gonna take Louie and I are gonna both go and help her prep stuff, and we're also going to take our laundry and do our laundry there.
That's great.
And then Thursday is Thanksgiving, and then really I have nothing on Friday through Wednesday. I have pretty much nothing going on, so just write a lot, do mics, hang out.
Great.
Yeah,
that's a good plan.
Yeah,
that sounds nice and relaxing.
It'll be pretty. Yeah, it's just a lot of time off.
Real vacation.
Louie and I kept thinking about going to doing a day trip somewhere. Yeah. I'm I told you this already.
What?
I feel like I told you this. I'm just really bad at planning day trip. I don't know where to go or what do you do when you get there? Why? I don't understand. It's stressful to me.
If there's not a specific event or thing to go see.
It's if you're right, exactly. If you're not going to see like those museums or whatever upstate or something. Or if you're just going to a town, you just like walk around the town and have dinner.
Yeah.
But like, why don't you just do that here?
Because you're in a new place.
But it's like not like we can afford a super nice hotel. It's like we'd be staying in an Airbnb. It's like we're staying in someone else's apartment.
But it doesn't have to. I mean,
I don't know.
It would be cheap. I mean, it depends on where you go, but you can find a cheap place to stay, and you can.
I know. I was kind of like, maybe I should look up places that specifically have a hot tub, and even if it's in the middle of the woods, like I'd rather do that. I'd rather just like stay in a cabin with a hot tub in the middle of nowhere that's like not in a town, and then just like, you know, I mean, neither of us are good cooks, so that's kind of a problem, but maybe like find a recipe and just like buy the food for dinner and a bunch of booze and just like stay in a cabin overnight with a hot tub. Like that sounds way
really
better
nice
to me than like a town, but I don't know, you know, how to find that. So I might look into it.
I'm sure upstate New York is filled with
Airbnbs with a cabin,
stuff.
Especially Thanksgiving weekend.
What if you ended up staying in Hillary Clinton's cabin? What if she Airbnbs it?
I'm sure she does not.
I know, but what if
Why
she
would
did?
she do
To
that?
give back to the women.
Women only. I couldn't bring Louie.
A female only Airbnb.
That sounds great.
That does sound great.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I should just go to Chappaqua and like walk through the woods, and, like look around.
Yeah, it's cold out though.
It is cold.
I don't want to be outside when it's cold.
I know, me neither. That's the other thing. It's like, oh, I mean, it's beautiful because it's fall, so it's probably really pretty. Although maybe all the leaves have fallen now. The ones outside my house have.
Yeah, they're all gone.
But oh well.
I went to Connecticut last night to do a show. I was opening for John Fish. Yeah, and it was.
How long was that?
It's only an hour.
Oh, that's nice.
But I really like shows outside of New York when the audience is sort of like what America
when
is.
the audience is, period.
Yeah, when the when the audience exists. But it was a lot of middle-aged and like upper middle-aged people where the host was like, "What do you want me to say for you?" And I was going to be like, I think I said like, well, normally I'd tell you to plug my podcast, but this doesn't seem like a podcasty audience.
No.
And then there was this one guy, this fucking like, you know, 50-year-old dude who was just, I don't know if he was drunk when he got there or if he got there early and started drinking or what, but he was so obnoxious. There was like the host, there was a guy who went up before me and this guy like started just yelling out like what he thought the punchline would be during like those beats in your joke, like with the silence.
Oh my God. And
this guy, it's like he couldn't handle silence. He like talked through this dudes, and then I went up and he said something during one of my jokes. He said something, I think he yelled at me that I was wrong. Like,
what?
It was so obnoxious, and I like handled it.
Was it
like,
a club or a?
Sort of. It's this place. Like I think this was it's a theater that is starting to have comedy now. This was their first time, and everybody else was wonderful. Like everybody else in the audience was so great. They all paid $25 to be there.
What an
like,
asshole!
He just ruined it for everybody. He like said something during mine. I shut him down. It was fine. Like everybody laughed. It was great. And then he was quiet for the rest of my set until my last, like the very end. Ruined like one line, but I was also like, I had already gotten the light. I was like, I'm not getting into it with you. Yeah. And then John Fish went up and he was headlining. And at some point during John's set, the guy, like he just got rowdier and rowdier. And like, I think the people who were with him were sort of egging him on too. Yeah. It's not like his wife didn't see him embarrassed. Ugh. And she was just like on his side kind of thing.
You're wrong, you idiot.
And then at some point, John was just like fed up and he handled it so well. He was like, he stayed calm the whole time. And he, the audience turned on this guy and started yelling at him.
It sounded like they were like against him from the
Yeah,
beginning.
totally. And I think like there was a woman in the audience who was like, "You're disgusting," and he was like, "No, you're disgusting,ng," and she was like, "No, you're disgusting."
Oh my God.
It was
in
so
the middle
weird.
of the set?
In the middle of the set, and John
Oh
just
my
had to stop,
God.
and like nobody
Poor dude.
nobody was like removing him until this man in the audience wearing a sheriff's like bedazzled rhinestone cowboy hat,
What?
like basically stood up and was like, "You gotta go, buddy." And then everybody sang na 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 hey hey hey, which like I didn't realize that would happen
What?
organically.
That's amazing.
And then the sheriff guy like escorted them out and
What?
then came back in, and John was just like, "I didn't realize like Norfolk had a sheriff," and he was like, "I'm not, but they call me Wild Bill," and then just sat back down, and then John like
Wow.
finished the show.
That is quite the experience.
Oh my God.
That guy sucks.
But like what's crazy to me is that his wife,
Was like into it.
yeah, I was like, oh, like they would,
Women are
they're
bad people
awful,
too.
but they will stay together.
I was just listening to a podcast where a white female comic said that she thought that what was happening to Louis was wrong and that he should be able to still work. And I was
I
like,
wanna know who.
I was like, oh, right. 53% of white women voted for Trump.
53%.
I was like, here she is. I'll tell
Yeah.
you who it is. It's also someone who happened to be, I was on a show with her once and she was just like distinctively like rude to me and very nice to all the men in the green room.
Sure.
And it's like, I get it. You're not like other girls. You're a cool girl.
Well, it's like, did you see Lena Dunham's thing today?
Oh my God. Look,
She's canceled.
I have to say, I usually am like, come on, guys. Lena Dunham, she's not that bad. I usually am on her side for most things, I will say. And this one, I am like, what, why say, why? Okay, if you believe that to be true.
Wait, let's say what it was
Okay,
in case
yeah,
you don't know.
in case you haven't heard.
So one of the actors on Girls.
No. She's not an
is it
actress
not
on Girls.
What was she on?
She's not, the actress
just
isn't
an
on Girls.
actress?
She's just an actress.
Okay.
Accused a Girls writer of
Yeah, an
sexual
executive
assault.
producer, right?
Oh, is he an executive
He's an
producer?
EP, yeah.
Okay.
On Girls, and he's also a writer. Of raping her, right?
I think
it rape?
just assault.
Okay. And like specific, like she went to the police. It's not one
Yeah.
of these like trying him
should,
in
she
public
should.
opinion. Like she
Yeah.
actually went to like filed a report.
Yeah.
Which is in and of itself like very brave.
Yeah.
Um,
And then he like obviously is like, no, that's not true. And then Lena Dunham and Jenny Connor, or whatever her name is, I never know how to say it out loud. Connor.
I don't know.
Both of like Jenny Connors also seems way more like grounded in reality.
Which one is she?
She's like Lena Dunham's creative partner, basically. She's
Okay.
like slightly older than Lena.
Is she on Girls?
No, she's an executive producer and writer. I think she's maybe a co-creator. They like are like, I watch her on her Instagram stories and stuff. They like
Okay.
are friends, but also just like collaborators, and she helped her like create everything and whatever.
Got it.
And she seems like they both, I don't know, it's a mess. But anyway, so they came out with a statement together that said, this is a great time in Hollywood because women are coming out and speaking out, and it's really good and blah, blah, blah. But in this instance, we believe, like, we know based on insider information that we have, we know that this is unfortunately one of the 3% of accusations that is like a lot, misrepresented,
right.
or that
a
is
false
a false accusation. One of the 3%, and like, we've known this person for more than half a decade, which is like, when you say that, you're like, oh, 5 years. That is such a weird thing to add. It's like, I've known you for 5 years, like, and I know you pretty well, but it's like, that's just not that much time, really, in the scheme of things. If you're like, this is what I've known for 20
time than
years.
I've been doing comedy.
Like, what? I've known this person for over half a decade.
It's,
like, that is a real roundabout way of being
it's a
like,
bachelor's
we just
degree
met.
and half of a master's.
It's like nothing. So yeah, it's so crazy. So it's like a kindergartner. It's not a fully developed relationship. And I mean, look,
It's the
it leads me
20th
to
of a
believe
century.
like they are tone deaf as hell to be putting, and also the actress happens to be a woman of color.
Yeah.
Which is like so
it's just
so
like Lena Dunham,
tone deaf.
You know that this is an issue for you.
Right.
Why would you put this out? If you do have quote unquote insider information, then you need to get what's his name, the writer, to publish that information, whatever that information is. You do not get involved. A, do not get involved. B, only get involved if you can verify what the fuck you're talking about. Because right now, the insider information could just be like, he said she was a crazy bitch.
Right.
Like, we don't know.
They
dated. That's not.
It doesn't mean
that
anything.
doesn't mean anything. Like, we don't know what your insider information is, and therefore you sound like an idiot, and it just is so dumb.
Also,
it's so tone deaf.
If you believe him over her, there's a better way to phrase that. Like, you have a publicist. Why are you saying it as if like she's?
I think the way to phrase it is you don't talk about it until there's something out there that's more concrete. Also, it's one of those stories.
Okay, but you can just say like, we're still waiting for all of the facts to come in. Like, that's it.
I still think you don't say anything, because honestly, the minute that Lena Dunham says something, people know about it. I hadn't even heard of that.
Yeah, but I think at this
I hadn't
point,
even heard of it.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but also at this point, like in the conversation of sexual assault, like I don't think there's a way that Lena Dunham could have not said something. Right? Like, she has to address it, right? Like,
okay.
we're sort of in this time where any woman who is...
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, okay, you're right. So she probably was being pressured to say something by media, whatever.
Right.
So yeah, then she just says, we don't have all the facts. Like, you know, if this is true, I'm very sorry to hear it. This is not the person I knew. And so, like, I'm waiting to hear more, blah,
right.
blah, blah.
Yeah, do the fucking
Something like
Roy
that.
Moore Republican bullshit of, like, if this is true.
It's like, wow. It's so tone deaf. It's so tone deaf.
Instead of just saying, like, she's lying. Like, fuck you.
That's basically what she's saying.
And then did you see, she had a tweet back in August that was like, things women lie about, what they had for lunch, things women don't lie about, rape. It was like, this was you 3 months ago.
Yeah, but not when it's like, not a guy you know.
Not if it's like, but he was so nice to me.
Yeah.
I just never would have
I don't know what,
guessed.
like, that's what, I almost am like, I'm baffled that she did this, to the point where I'm so baffled by it that I'm like, that anyone, but honestly, it's not just her, it's also that woman Jenny. Like, that woman Jenny seems like she like has her shit together a little bit more, and that's why I'm like maybe there is some kind of like, I don't know what it could be. What is it? You were there? Like, what is that? What is proof? Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't know what it could be that she's talking about.
How
insider
is it so
information
concrete that you know that
you would
she's
make
lying?
a statement like this. Yeah, I don't know, but then it makes me be like, maybe there's something crazy damning. But if there is, then why wouldn't you put it out? Why wouldn't you publish it and say, this is what's happening? I mean,
maybe she can't because of like an ongoing investigation. Because
I don't want to say, look, I mean, whatever. I'm not gonna. I think it is such a small percentage of women who falsely accuse men of assault or rape. But I would be a liar if I said it never happens.
Right.
It can happen, and I know someone to whom it happened, actually. And I mean, I don't know the whole story in that situation, and he only told it to me, and it's whatever. I'll tell you more details about it later, but I think it is possible that happens sometimes, but I think it's so rare. And it's just, why would you to like cast this woman aside, especially when you have a public public like issue around speaking about women of color, like especially when you're known as like the atypical white feminist. Why the fuck would you say anything? It's so stupid. It's just stupid, and it's wrong. And this is making me feel like she's canceled. Like, for so long I was like, but I think she just is trying and doesn't get it, and I don't know, I was making excuses for her. But this is just tone deaf. It's just tone deaf. It's like, what? I don't know. Cuckoo. We'll see what happens.
So the guy in the audience from last night and Lena Dunham, you guys can...
Enemies of the state. I'm just like, shut up, girl.
Yeah,
man. So dumb.
Shut up. Just stop.
Oh,
just stop.
Woof, woof.
Woof. Hey, you're listening to Well Behaved.
Yeah.
A podcast about obscure women in history. And we want to tell you about them.
I'm Molly Ruben-Long.
I'm Ariel Elias.
And should we dive right into...
Yeah.
Are you first or
I'm
am I
first.
first? Okay.
I'm first.
Good, because I'm laying down already. Perfect.
Okay. I'm doing things a little bit differently.
Whoa. Also, are we going to release this? When are we going to, what did we
Yeah,
decide?
why don't we release this Monday?
And then we'll just take next Monday
So we're
off.
going to have, so next week there won't be an episode.
Because
Thanksgiving.
the old giving thanks. Actually, you know what I was thinking?
What?
And this is an idea. This is going to be in here and we'll see if it happens. I was like, I could maybe see if I could find one of those original ones we did from like a long, long time ago. But I don't know quite where they are.
Also, if we can bear to listen to it.
I know, maybe that's not a good idea.
I went back and listened to some of the older ones.
Yeah, and they're not as
when
good.
like we didn't know how to construct a story yet, really, and seemed a bit timid speaking.
I see. Well, never mind. We'll probably just skip it then.
But we'll see what happens. All right. So instead of doing one person, I'm doing like a movement led by women.
Wow.
It's real fun. My sources are Wikipedia, obviously. Damn Interesting, which it was is like the publication. It was written by Jennifer Colton Jones, and it's one of the best, the most well written thing I've read doing this podcast.
Cool.
It was a really good story. I might link that in the Facebook group because like it's just really good. A Mental Floss article by Hannah Kieser, The Oregonian by Richard Cockle, which is such a funny name because it's Dick Cockle.
Oh no.
And I am 12. City of Umatilla, Oregon website, the Oregon Encyclopedia, and Time Magazine by Ray Kavanagh. Okay. So the year is 1916. Woodrow Wilson had just been elected president. World War I is in full swing. And Congress was still 2 years away from approving the creation of daylight savings time, a.k.a. sudden seasonal depression for everyone. And the reason I had that is because when I first started writing this up, I thought it was 1918 the whole time. And
Why do we have daylight savings time?
For farmers, it was to give them more light in the morning when you're usually farmers wake up really
Farmers. Why are we waking up like that?
because we need to eat.
All right.
We need crops and stuff.
Yeah, why do we have it in the city?
Yeah, because then you would have
Yeah,
the
it's
cities.
too confusing.
I mean, there are places like Arizona
doesn't have it. Yeah. I guess all of Arizona doesn't really have much virile land.
Yeah. Well, and then I think the Native American reservations throughout the country usually aren't on daylight savings time.
Yeah.
There's a really funny story about one time. This was I guess this was in the 90s. Israel went to daylight savings time, but like Palestinians wouldn't recognize it because it was from the government. And somebody they were like plotting a bomb, like an explosive device, and they planned it wrong because they didn't take into account daylight savings time, and so nobody got hurt.
It's a real Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah. Okay. So 180 miles away from Portland, in a small town of just 198 people, the women of Umatilla, Oregon, were overthrowing their government.
Whoa.
So, sorry, let me just... Sorry for the mic noises.
It's a real bedtime story vibe. Ooh, you're wearing speaking of is, you're wearing your birthright shirt.
I'm wearing my birthright shirt, no bra, no underwear, because I truly barely got dressed this morning to come here.
No underwear.
I mean, I got
Jesus.
sweatpants on. This is like what I slept in. I don't sleep in underwear.
You don't?
I usually sleep naked.
This is very intimate.
I mean, you have your legs spread.
I do. It's just very comfortable right now. I'm laying on the couch. Okay.
All right. So
Anyway, overthrowing the government.
Yeah. Umatilla was once a thriving commercial town during the gold rush.
Sorry.
What?
I said, no, Umatilla.
It makes me think of Matilda.
Does, yeah.
Umatilla was once a thriving commercial town during the gold rush in the 1860s and 70s. And then the railroads came. So while the railroads meant that the country's economy began to thrive, towns like Umatilla began to crumble because nobody's stopping there anymore. So by 1916, it was hardly a town. The electricity had been shut off because nobody paid the city's bill. Broken sidewalks went unfixed, and garbage languished in the streets.
Wow.
It's like if the New York City subway system was a town. And the women were fed up. Florence Brownell,
Sure.
one of the women in town, said in the Tacoma Times, there had been a lot of talk about reform and improvement. Mrs. Merrick's husband, I think it was, suddenly suggested a woman's ticket at the approaching election. Everybody laughed. Ha 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 ha. They thought it was a huge joke, because women are funny. She didn't say that, but I am. They thought it was a huge joke. Well, it was. Only we women laughed last. So white women in Oregon had had the right to vote since 1912, which was 8 years before the 19th Amendment was ratified in 1920. And in Umatilla, candidates didn't have to formally announce that they were running for office. Anybody could be written in on election day. And the mayor at the time, whose name was E.E. Speck Starcher.
God, that's an old-timey name.
What a stupid name. He figured that re-election would be easy and hardly bothered campaigning. In the words of Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, big mistake. Huge.
Damn, you're really spicing this one up.
Thanks, Anne. I really like this story. Because Speck's wife, Laura Jane Stockton Starcher, had secretly decided to run for mayor.
Whoa.
And not only would she run for mayor, but the women of Umatilla would run for every open seat in government.
Wow.
So
I'm with her.
What?
I'm with her.
I'm with her. But also lock her up.
Yeah. For sure, lock her up. Oh my God.
Oh boy. So Laura ran a beauty salon, kind of like Marie Laveau, where she just like, you know, all the women came to her, they chatted, they like, it's where they got their goss. And she also delivered mail.
Okay.
So she's already coming into contact with like all of the town's women on a regular basis. She knows everybody, they all know her, and she basically leads this movement. And word starts going around. At some point, like some of the husbands got word of it, like they heard rumors in town about how the women were plotting, and so they would confront their wives about it. And the women just told their husbands that, like, oh no, it's just a joke, you know, like women, stop being crazy.
They gaslit them.
Yes, they totally gaslit them, and they were just like, no, like, of course not, like, you're just paranoid. Like, I hate to say this, but is it maybe that time of month? Like, are you just a little sensitive to everything? And then the women pretended to hold a book club at the library so that they could meet once a week. And also something said that they had quilting bees. I have no clue.
Like quilting bee?
Yeah, BEE.
I think
Quilting
like
bee?
a spelling bee, maybe. It's like a like a quilting competition,
Maybe.
or gathering, or
I mean, I imagine it has to be some sort of gathering, but it's like,
it's spelling bee is like the only other bee I've ever heard of. So
Yeah.
maybe it's like that.
So I don't know, but they had them.
Quilting competition? How would that work? I don't know. Okay.
And they
Sounds good.
and they used that as a cover for their meetings. So when election day finally came, the women were very patient. They made the men think that they weren't even going to vote.
Smart.
Because they were counting on low voter turnout in order to make their votes count more. So they
just
didn't
waited
want to
all
give
day.
what?
They just like waited till the end of the day.
Yeah, they didn't want to give men time to organize that day and show up at the polls. Like, you know, if like most people weren't planning to vote, and then all of a sudden they saw all these women going to vote, they'd be like, oh shit, we need to go vote. So for most of the day, everyone went about their business. A few men went to the polls, but that's about it. Women did the laundry, they swept their homes, they fed the kids until 2:00. And at 2:00, as if there was a lady bat signal in the air, the women stopped what they were doing and lined up at the voting booth.
Whoa.
The men joked at first. They were like, look at them. Isn't that precious? They think they can. What's an Oregon accent? Look.
Is there an Oregon accent?
There's got to be.
I mean, I don't know what it is. It's not. It's not one of the distinctive ones.
Okay.
You just do Boston. That's fun. Hey, look at him. The ladies are trying to vote.
They think they can. I can't do a Boston accent.
Must be hard for them to to know what to vote for because of their dumb minds.
Chowder. Ich bin ein. Okay.
Fuck the can't have it yet.
So you have a nerds. So come to all female. No, it already happened. Okay, so the men are all like, they're just like, let's bless their heart, until the results were read.
Yes.
Women had been elected to every open position on the ticket. 4 out of 6 city council positions went to Florence Brownell,
Damn.
Anna Means, Stella Paolu, and Gladys Spinning. The city recorder went to Bertha Cherry. Treasurer went to Lola Merrick. And most controversially, with 26 votes to his 8 votes, our girl Laura beat Speck for mayor.
Woo.
Who was her husband.
Hell
She
yeah.
beat her husband for mayor. And Speck...
in the face.
Yeah. And Speck being, of course, as you would imagine, a humble
Yeah.
and gracious, loving husband,
Yes.
immediately demanded a recount. Which, like, he lost 26-8. Like, bitch, it was not close.
No. Also, that's so few people.
Yeah, I know. 34 people voted in a town of 198.
That's probably pretty similar odds.
Yeah, probably.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, so Laura's first speech was great. She said, Umatilla will be given a business administration and a progressive administration. We believe the women can do many things and effect many reforms in this town that the men did not dare do. We propose to replace the electric streetlights, which the present administration removed, clean up and improve the streets, lay sewers, and do everything we can to improve the physical and moral health of Umatilla. We shall enforce the laws strictly. We will not leave the enforcement of our laws to any man because past experience has proven the laws will not be strictly enforced. And I imagine she did a lot of like neck moving during that whole thing.
A lot of arms, a lot of Mariah Carey arms.
Yeah, a lot of like snaps in a Z formation kind of thing. The election made national news, mostly in favor of the women, mostly like admiring them. Some headlines were woman defeats husband, beats husband for mayor. Woman mayor is pretty, clever, and diplomat, which doesn't actually grammatically make sense, but from East Oregonian newspaper, the present administration had been letting city affairs run along the lines of least resistance. #resist. Laws were slackly enforced, city improvement was at a standstill, and Umatilla was rapidly retrograding back into the sagebrush of years ago. A change of administration was needed for Umatilla if that town is to grow. The need was realized, and the women of Umatilla arose to the occasion. And then there was this one asshole in Chicago, as there always is.
Oh, God.
From the Day Book, which, like, you're not even a newspaper anymore, so sit down. But he said, I assume it's he. Laura's inaugural address was devoted to what she knew about government and what she should do as mayor, wasn't it? No, it was not. She just roasted mere man after a fashion that must have made poor Starcher shake as a horrible example. Which I assume Starcher is her husband, not her, since he's referring to her by her first name, which, like, you don't get to do. You're a newspaper. You refer to her as Mayor Laura, or you refer to her as her last name. I'm calling her Laura because we're friends. So the women got to work. Every member of government showed up to the first city council meeting, which apparently was very rare before. Like men would just forget that there was even city council meeting and not go. They paid the power bill, installed street lights, fixed the sidewalks, started garbage pickup once a month, planted trees, created a library board, installed railroad crossings, which, like, how were there not or the signs. They installed railroad crossing signs, which like, how were there not signs before? That's so scary.
Oh my God.
And then they successfully campaigned to the state to have the highway routed through Umatilla to bring back commercial traffic that had existed before the railroads.
Cool.
So it becomes like a thriving town again.
Is it still a town?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's still a town. I think now it has, I want to say either 7,000 or 17,000
Wow.
people. So yeah, still a town. I think for a while during World War II or in the 60s, during World War II, I think they had like a blanket manufacturing plant.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the 60s, I think mustard gas.
Oh, tight.
Yeah, like chemical weapons. And then at some point, I forget when, they shut down that plant because they're like, this is
Dangerous.
probably a little risky.
Yeah.
And it's right along is it the Columbia River? Yeah, the Columbia River that goes through. It's directly east of of Portland.
Okay.
So Laura would only serve 8 months of her 2-year term. Supposedly she had a bunch of nervous breakdowns. In one article was like, unfortunately for feminism, Laura just couldn't hack it or whatever. Which, like, fuck you. I imagine it was a very difficult job. But also her husband, her like dick baby husband, divorced her like around this time, and was like his endorsement of her when he was like, oh, she totally won. So he was like, well, she is a very good housekeeper. It's like, fuck you, dude. So I imagine in 1916, like, being divorced was probably pretty rare. She's like a public figure now. So whatever, she just couldn't handle it. But for whatever reasons. Or maybe she just had anxiety and fucking nobody took her seriously.
Yeah.
She was a woman. But women would remain in control of the Umatilla government until 1920. And then in 1920, they felt like they had accomplished what they set out to do and stepped aside. And then I think it was like 1933, maybe, there was another female mayor. But today, I think there's one woman on their city council. That's it. And
That sucks. Why'd they step aside? They could just keep going.
because they were just like, well, like, we ran because we wanted these things to be
fix things,
fixed.
yeah.
And now they're fixed. So we can go back to, like,
No dude would ever do that.
of course not. And what's frustrating is that, like, on the Wikipedia, like, this made national news. There was recently a celebration of the 100-year anniversary of this. But on Umatilla's Wikipedia page, there's no mention of this in their history section. And also on the Umatilla website, there's no mention of this in there, where it's like, oh, this is just one of those examples of like the accomplishments of women being stamped out, like just
Like,
not even mentioned.
They're the reason they're still a town.
Yeah.
And like the fact that they're not mentioned on the website is disgusting.
Yeah, it's like you have a history section.
That's
How is this
awful.
not in your history section?
Wow.
I don't give a shit about like the gold that existed here. Like I like, why is that being mentioned?
Or like mention both. Like that's part of it. It's part of the history. Well, yeah.
Right.
And then the gold dried up and then your town almost disappeared and then a bunch of women fixed it.
Yeah, they fucking saved
That's
your
the story
ass.
of your town. Like,
And it's like you celebrated this
if there's any
a year
listeners
ago.
from Umatilla, please start petitioning your local government.
Yeah, if the
remember these
webmaster of Umatilla's website is listening, please add that in. I thought about, this is the first time where I
You
was
should
like,
send an email.
oh yeah, maybe I can.
Just send an email and be like, hi, why is this not on your website?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's it. That's the Petticoat Rebellion.
Ooh, good
Is
name.
what it's called, because they wore petticoats.
Right. And they
'Cause
were
they were
rebels.
like women and they were rebels. I know. I just to find this, I just Googled women-led coups.
Wow, that one is so peaceful and chill.
That's
barely
it.
a coup. More of a just an electoral victory.
They like had this little conspiracy.
I know. That's a great idea. Maybe that's what we should do next year, or next for 2018. Just all like pretend like we're not going to go to the polls and get there right before they close.
Well, it made me think of the trans woman who defeated that guy who
in
wrote
Virginia.
who wrote the trans bathroom bill. It made me think of her because she ran on like traffic congestion in town, and it's like, yeah, these women, I mean, they basically just ran on like, we got it, there's trash everywhere. Can we just clean up the trash?
Yeah.
And other women were like, yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, let's do that. That's awesome. Well, good one, that old Petticoat Rebellion. My person, I did another Native American woman.
Great.
Annie Dodge Wauneka, I think is how you say it. Wauneka. She was born on the Navajo reservation near present-day Sawmill, Arizona on April 10th, 1910. Her father was a man named Henry Chi Dodge. He is a rancher. He was a very
like a rock. Oh, is that Dodge?
Oh, maybe. Yeah. That's
Oh,
an old.
like a rock.
They don't do that anymore, right? It's
I don't
very
know.
like 90s.
I haven't watched a car commercial in
Really?
years.
When they come up on Hulu and things.
You get car commercials?
I do, yeah.
I don't usually get car
You don't?
commercials on my Hulu.
I don't know why. What do they think I can buy a car? I don't know.
I get a lot of like health insurance stuff. on my-
Really? I get
Yeah.
a lot of Verizon.
Mm.
It's all Verizon. It's the little kid from Stranger Things, and then the dude
Yes.
from Silicon Valley telling me to buy Verizon. I'm like,
Mhm.
look,
I get those
I
too.
am grandfathered into unlimited data on AT&T. Get these commercials off of my shit. I'm never switching until my family dies.
It's like
and I
you're-
have to get off my family plan.
It's like you're mining our data. Figure it out a little better.
Yeah.
Of what commercials we should be watching.
seriously. Well, maybe that's why I'm on it, because they know I have AT&T. They can tell I have
Maybe,
AT&T,
but I have
they want me to
Verizon and they
change.
keep. I see those
Yeah, it's
too.
like you have what's going on here. Anyway.
Okay, sorry.
So that's okay. So her father was a rancher. He was like a very prestigious leader in the Navajo community, arguably the wealthiest man in the Navajo community at that time. He did have 3 wives. Polygamy was allowed in their tribe at this time.
Was it allowed the other way where women could have more than one
I'm not
husband?
sure. I'm not sure. I usually doubt it. It doesn't seem like
Yeah.
that's the vibe, but I'm not. I can't speak on it.
The Tibetans do.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. They get to have more than one husband.
Anyway, but so he's pretty wealthy, pretty prestigious guy within the community, a rancher. He is the first elected chairman of the Navajo Business Council and the 5th chairman of the Navajo Tribal Council. He was also fluent in English and became like sort of an interpreter on the reservation. So as a kid, she grew up around her father. She was very close with him. She took care of the sheep on her dad's farm, and she ended up going to a boarding school when she's 8 that's run by what was then the Bureau of Indian Affairs at a school in Fort Defiance, Arizona. So she goes off to this boarding school. At 12, she goes to a government boarding school in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And that school included students from many tribes. So the classes were taught in English. And that's when she became fluent in English as well. In 1918, there was an influenza epidemic that took the lives of many of her schoolmates.
Spanish flu, baby.
Yeah.
Killed more people than World War One.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
It was a really big problem in the Navajo community, apparently.
Shut down Philadelphia.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Shut down. Like everyone had to stay inside, so they wouldn't catch
Like
it from
schools
each
were
other?
closed.
Whoa, that's scary.
Public transportation was closed.
Damn. Boy,
Yeah,
they were-
Spanish flu was crazy.
Influenza. What a sexy name.
Spanish flu.
Influenza.
Oh, influenza.
Barcelona.
Spanish flu.
I mean, Spanish.
It didn't actually start in Spain.
Oh.
It's nobody like really knows exactly which country it started in, but in every country it's known as a different country's flu. So like in Spain it's like
Yeah.
the Austrian flu.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. Blame it on someone else. Anyway, but so she contracts it, but is like
gets over very quickly, and then that makes her resistant to it. So she decides to help the nursing staff at her school. Like, one of the sources I read said that there was just one nurse at this school. So she's like helping them.
Just the most overworked,
I know,
frazzled nurse.
Right, with an influenza outbreak. So she decides to start like helping the nurse and the staff treat the other kids. And that sort of leads her to a love of service, and specifically healthcare. And then healthcare later on in her life really becomes that's like the baton that she holds up for most of her life, and it started in this boarding school. Later on, trachoma also hits her school, and she again is called on to help. In 1928, she finishes 11th grade, and a year later, she marries a classmate of hers, Dodge Wauneka. They have 8 kids, 2 of whom die early. But then I saw another.
Died early?
They had 8 kids, 2 died early. But then in her New York Times obituary, it said that she had 9 surviving kids. So maybe she had more at another time. I don't know. Different sources said different. She had a whole boatload of kids.
She had a litter.
A lot of kids. He was also a rancher, like her father, and they lived at the Soncella Buttes near Sawmill for 2 years. Then they moved to Tanner Springs because her dad asked them to manage like a larger farm area that he had. She was just raising her children there, minding her own business, working with her husband, herding the cattle and the sheep. She was very close to her dad. And because he was still an active member in the community, she would accompany him on a lot of visits to like the more needy people within the Navajo community. And so while she was on these visits with him, she saw a lot of health problems and sanitation issues, and it really reminded her of the stuff that she had dealt with at her school, and she wanted to do something. So she ends up going with him to the Navajo Tribal Council at Fort Defiance, and like kind of speaks up, even though it was not very common for women to be there, let alone to participate actively. But she kind of spoke up about what she saw and was like, we got to do something about this. And she keeps coming back. Like, she just keeps going to the tribal meetings with him, like whenever he goes. And her father passes away in 1947. She just keeps going. By 1951, they basically just get used to her being there. And they invite her to run for like official membership. At this point, she was just showing up. So they decided to invite her to run for membership. She and her 2 half-brothers are elected. Many say easily because of the reputation of their father. But she was also only the second woman elected. The New York Times said that she was the first, but then 2 other sources said that she was the second. So anyway, it was whether she was first or second. Yeah, it's hard to tell. But she was one of the first women elected to the board. And also the New York Times also said that her husband had run for membership as well, and that he lost to her. So that's a common thread.
But wow, look at that.
I know, but I'm not sure. Again, the New York Times, I'm like, this is the New York Times, but also it's like some of this stuff is contradictory to what I read other places. But anyway, she definitely won the council membership. She's reelected in 1954 and 1959. So she serves on it for many years. In February of 1952, so just a year after she was initially elected into the tribal council, she went with an advisory council to Washington, D.C. for the first time. This trip ends up being repeated frequently, and she became a familiar vocal presence representing the Navajo Nation before the Bureau of Indian Affairs. She was like a very striking figure, like tall, and she would always wear traditional Navajo clothes and a lot of the silver and turquoise jewelry. So she was really just a very striking figure, and she became a common,
very Albuquerque.
Yes, well, it's very Native American. But she just was like, she is, the pictures of her are really cool. She's very like, she does seem very striking. She just has like you can tell that she has like a presence,
like an aura. Like
yeah.
If you did mushrooms and looked at her, you'd be like, I trust you.
I wouldn't know. I've never done them. Remember we were supposed to do them in the Redwoods, but then we ended up just having a horrible camping experience. I'm glad. Oh, thank God we decided against doing that. That would have been awful.
I know. I was thinking about that the other day because I was thinking about if I did a cross country trip again And
I know,
would
I'm
I
just
bring
waiting
a
for
tent?
Bamford to die.
Yeah. Well, and I thought about like the way that we pitched that tent.
Oh my God.
And like it didn't collapse
No.
throughout the night, but it was like it was certainly not the way that a tent should
do
look.
that. You know what I've also learned recently, and this I feel bad saying it because I feel bad that I do this, but REI has a ridiculous return policy.
What's REI?
REI, it's a store. It's like a camping store. You never been there?
Oh, mm-mm.
Ooh, it's a fun store. I feel like you might like it. It's
Yeah?
fun because I don't even like camping stuff, but they just have like it's fun to look at and play with.
Yeah.
Like I don't like camping, but I like camping stuff.
I
is
love
what
looking
the
at
way I
the
should-
knives.
the knives and the little gadgets, and they have like bike stuff and yoga pants and shoe. It's just like a fun store.
Yeah.
And it's a co-op. It's a co-op store.
Okay.
So if you become a member, you get 5% back at the end of the year on anything you buy there, and they keep your receipts forever. But if you're not a member and you just have your receipt, you can basically return anything in any condition within a year, I think. So Louis and I went camping once in Los Angeles with his friends, and I was like, I'm not going camping without like the blow up mattress that you sleep on. So we went to REI and bought 2 of those, like, you know, $150 like nice blow up mattress pads, and then we just returned them the next day.
Sure.
I mean, like, what are you gonna do? I'm never gonna use it again. But I guess what I'm saying is if I did find myself in a situation where I need to camp, I would just find an REI or a Target. Honestly, Target's pretty good about returns too, or a Costco. Those 3 are. I've gotten really into returning things lately. Louis has taught me that, as if he couldn't be more stereotypical.
I'm glad you said it because I was about
You can.
to.
You're more Jewish than me.
I know. But I don't know if I'm more Jewish than Louis.
No one is. Deeply, just physically alone. It's like, oof. Really.
It's okay. Shaki and I bought a new couch.
Oh my God, has it come yet?
Shaki bought a new couch.
Has it come?
Yeah, it's there.
Oh my
it's
God,
beautiful.
I want to see it.
But-
Has Bamford fucked it up yet?
No, she's a little scared of it.
Good, as she
really
should be.
cute.
It's
I mean,
fancy.
She'll like get on it, and honestly, like the material,
see
it's great.
it.
You can just brush off her hair so
You can
easily.
just like use a thing or
yeah,
whatever.
it
That's
comes
great.
off really easily because
Oh my God,
apparently
I wanna
velvet
see
is
it.
like a great
It actually
material
is a good
for-
dog.
yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
But well, and we also got it. I think she's more afraid of the coffee table. That
Is
we
it
got.
comfy?
Yeah, it's comfy. It's great. I love it so much.
Oh my God, I
because the
wanna
last
see
couch
it.
he had for at least 15
That
years.
couch was
It was barely a couch.
It was really a sinkhole.
Yeah. Well, and he started having all these back problems, and we were
And
like,
you're like, probably
maybe
because
it's the
you sit on this.
couch.
Yeah, and it was a futon, really. It was
Yeah.
more of a futon.
And when I would get sick, I'd sleep on the futon and pull it out, but there's like a divot in
Oh,
it, so you
no.
have to choose which side you're gonna sleep on.
Oh no.
What was the point of this? We bought a new couch, and he
yes.
bought a new couch and has mentioned the price of it several times.
Really?
And
Was
I'm
it
just like,
expensive?
you're so. I mean, it was just one of those like, baby, I love you. You're being real Jewish.
you just gotta let it go. It's
Yeah.
over.
But thank you for the couch.
Man. Well,
It's
I
so
can't wait
good.
to see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me keep going because
Yeah.
we have to do our show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where was I? Yeah. So she's very striking. Or you're saying aura. That's how I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So in June
Drugs.
1953, there was a spread of tuberculosis among the Navajo.
Oof.
And it's a really major issue at the tribal council. She is called upon in this moment to lead the health committee to address it, which was like a major decision that made her kind of a national figure of Native American healthcare issues. She became sort of like the bastion of that. It turns out her husband's pretty cool, pretty dope, because he ends up just taking up more responsibilities at home, taking care of the kids, and is like, you can do it. Unlike the striker dude or whatever.
Fucking Start, whatever his name was. Speck. Fuck you, Speck.
Yeah.
You're just a speck
gross
in
fish.
the universe.
Yeah.
And you are not as important as you think you are, Speck.
Yeah. Anyway, so she throws herself into this job. She spends 3 months studying tuberculosis with the U.S. Public Health Service and teaching her people what she learned in ways that they could accept and understand. That's what it said in the source. So I don't know exactly what that means. But yeah, I mean, just like in ways that it's like a lot of information. She dilutes it and gives it back to them.
It's like there are stories about like when there's an outbreak of something in another country and the World Health Organization tries to like maybe it's not the World Health Organization, but somebody like tries to distribute flyers.
Yeah.
And then they're like, hey, nobody here can read. Like, this is not the way to
Helpful.
do this.
Yeah, you have to do it.
Or like condoms. That was a big thing of teaching people, like when HIV broke out, of like having people within the community teach the community
Is
about
way
why
better.
condoms are important.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it makes
It
no
reminds
sense.
me of the woman that you did who planted all the trees.
Oh yeah, Wangari.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Episode 4. Wangari Maathai.
ooh, good job.
I think.
That's very good memory. Anyway, so she also, this is really cool. She compiled an English Navajo medical dictionary.
Oh, cool.
So that white doctors and native doctors or native medicine men rather, could consult and communicate with each other about patients, so that there was like more crossover, and you could still go to the medicine man that you were used to, but if there was some other kind of problem, you could have them consult with a white physician as well. So it just made things a little easier.
It's like when it's better. It's like when Chinese meets Mexican food,
Right.
and it's like fusion.
It was medicine fusion is what it was, for sure. And she made that possible with her dictionary. She created campaigns against influenza, trachoma, tuberculosis, bad sanitary conditions, impure drinking water, alcoholism, peyote use, and better treatment for pregnant women and babies. And she basically receives much of the credit for ending tuberculosis among the Navajo people.
Wow.
In the mid-1950s, she goes back to school and gets her Bachelor of Science in Public Health from University of Arizona.
Damn.
And she also decides to like help with housing conditions, to introduce modern plumbing, wooden flooring, and basically she also tries to like, with that whole thing with like the medicine men and stuff like that, she tries to encourage people to seek more modern medical attention and kind of like integrate, like I said, the traditional medicine with the modern medicine.
Yeah.
Because she felt that she was like a little frustrated with the traditional tribal medicine makers for their objections to the new ways. Like she believed that they did a lot of good for Navajo people, but also they kind of needed to,
But also penicillin.
but also penicillin. That's right. You got to do both. So she kind of was like encouraging that transition. Yes. So she hosted a bi-weekly radio show in the Navajo language on KGAK in Gallup, New Mexico, to promote modern health practices. In
What
September,
was her show called?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Well Behaved.
It was called Annie's Anecdotes.
Ooh, that's good.
Thank you. How to dodge an illness.
Ooh,
Thank
Molly.
you. I don't know. I have no idea what it was called. Okay, thank you so much. September 1976, she publishes an influential study called The Dilemma for Indian Women in a national newspaper. She is described as a bridge between her people and the white man, honored and respected by both. That was in a source. And she served on advisory boards for the U.S. Surgeon General and the U.S. Public Health Service. In 1959, she's named Arizona Woman of the Year by the Arizona Press Women's Club.
Wow.
And given an award by the Arizona Public Health Association. In 1976, the Ladies' Home Journal declares her Woman of the Year. In 1984, the Navajo Tribal Council names her our legendary mother of the Navajo Nation.
She's like the Caitlyn Jenner of the Navajo, because she was Woman of the Year that one year.
That's rude. In 1980, University of Albuquerque gives her an honorary doctorate of humanity. She has a lot of honorary degrees. She's got an honorary doctorate of humanities from University of Albuquerque, honorary doctorate of humane letters from University of New Mexico, and an honorary doctorate of public health and of law from the University of Arizona.
Do you remember that hotel we stayed in Arizona?
In Albuquerque?
In Albuquerque.
Yeah,
I feel like Anna would be
really upset by it.
Yeah, she'd be like, this is not up to code.
Not sanitary. No, this was when we drove across the country. My dad's friend lives in Albuquerque and we were staying with him, and we got there super late,
and he was on the porch and he had wine for us. It was very sweet.
We had also just driven from Austin.
And remember there was traffic because there was like some kind of horrible accident, and there was like there was traffic on one of those highways where there should never be traffic.
Yeah.
Like
we had been driving for like 14 hours through West Texas.
Oh my
we were
God,
so
the
tired.
worst drive in the
And
world.
We ran over like several animals.
We did?
in Albuquerque. There were a lot of bumps because it was just like
I don't remember
night
that.
desert animals that were crossing the
sorry.
road. I think a lot of them were already dead.
Yeah, little roadkill situation.
A lot of
Anyway,
roadkill.
so we get there and he's very sweet and he gives us all this wine, but his daughter was staying and he didn't know she was going to be staying. So he's like, I got a room for you at the motel down the street. So we drive down the
Which
street.
was so nice of him.
And it was the sketchiest. There were bars on the window. Everything smelled like bleach.
Yeah.
To such a way that it felt like someone bled in here.
Yeah, the carpet was wet.
Yeah,
The
it
whole
was
carpet,
wet.
I think from the bleach.
Yeah.
But he did stock the fridge
We did
with
stock the
beer for
fridge with beer.
us.
And so we decided to just get our sleeping bags and sleep on top of the
that's right.
on top of the bed. We did not get in that bed. We just slept on the sleeping bags. So
Yeah.
that was great. Anyway, yeah, that would not have been Annie Dodge would not have liked that at all. Anyway, so in 1963, probably like her biggest, I guess we say one of her biggest honors, she was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom by LBJ. She was the first Native American to receive that award. JFK had basically just created the award before dying. So it was like, I think it was the first round of Presidential Medal of Freedom
Yeah.
she was included in.
Good job, LBJ.
Yeah. Well, I think he just kind of was like, oh, well, the president's dead, so I'm going to give out these awards, I guess. I don't know if he chose them or if JFK had already chosen them and he just had to give them out. It's unclear to me. But anyway, in 1997, she dies in a nursing home in Toyei, Arizona, Toyei, of Alzheimer's. And all public offices in the Navajo Nation shut down for a day in her memory. And in 2007, she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she was a pretty cool lady.
Annie Dodge.
Annie Dodge Wauneka.
Annie Dodge Wauneka.
I think that's how you pronounce it.
Wow, Neka. Wow, what a woman.
Yeah, wow, the neck on her. I don't know. I'm sorry. No, she was a pretty cool lady. So think about Annie Dodge and the Petticoat Rebellion this Thanksgiving, something to be thankful for. We will be taking a break next week because Ariel's going to Kentucky.
Because we all
And they
deserve
don't
a
have
break
internet
sometimes. Wow.
Sorry. They ain't got no internet. He's in the woods. You're so mad at me.
No, I was
Sorry,
thinking
it's a really fun accent to do.
It is a fun accent. My best friend's dad growing up couldn't say my name because of his accent. He called me Earl.
Earl.
Coming over. Earl coming over today.
Earl. My initials spell out Merle, which I always thought would be a fun, fun alter ego.
If I marry Shacky and change my last name, my initials will spell ass.
Would you change your last name?
No.
No.
I'm already famous. Can't change my last name now.
That would be funny though. Ass.
Yeah.
Ooh, worth it. I know. We've talked about this. Molly Katz is a cool name, but
It's a really
it's just
cool
not
name.
me.
It's not you.
No,
Why should we have to give up our names?
we won't.
I think he should be Dan Elias.
That's so weird though, because his name
'Cause
is
his
Shaq.
name is Shaq.
He should go by Shacky Elias.
Yeah.
You get rid of the Dan.
Yeah.
That's honestly the least important part of his name.
It really is.
There you go.
Elias Shacky or Shacky? No, Shacky
Elias
Elias.
could kind of work as a first name if you had a boy.
It doesn't work as Elias. I know guys named
Elias.
Elias.
Yeah. It's a cool name.
Thanks, girl.
Maybe you should do that.
Maybe we will.
All right. Well,
I don't
this
think I
is
have anybody to
a
shout
child.
out this week.
Oh,
Sorry.
I do actually.
Oh, great.
In New Orleans, it's election day today, and New Orleans will be electing its first black female mayor because both candidates are black women.
Yeah. So
that's exciting.
it's either Desiree Chabonnet
or
I think.
Latoya. What's her last name?
I don't remember.
Johnson.
I think so.
Anyway, I don't know anything about the candidates. I just know that they're black women. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't live there anymore, so I'm not up on the
not registered
up
there
on
anymore.
the polls. No, me neither.
Actually, I'm still registered there, but I'm also registered here. I'm one of the voter fraud issues.
Do you have to unregister?
You don't.
So then you're fine.
I know, but it was one of those things like when Trump was like, there are people registered in 2 different states who vote.
Yeah. I ended up getting that too. Did I tell you? The paper that you had talked about. It went to my parents' house. But I mean, I'm registered here now, so I think it
doesn't
cancels
matter.
it out. Yeah.
Just don't vote twice.
I'm like,
You're fine. So yeah, that's very exciting.
Yeah. Well, the tax bill's gonna pass. Everything's bad, but otherwise, whatever.
Yeah, I guess just like every woman who has come out with their story and who is coming forward about not just shitty dudes who are easy to hate like Kevin Spacey, but guys who are popular like Al Franken, and there are women who are speaking up, and that's beautiful. And if you're not speaking up, that's fine too. You do you and take care of you. And if you needed to skip through the first part of this podcast where we talked about stuff, that's totally fine. And take care of yourself and keep making history.
Bye.
Bye.